Nick Suzuki, his first full year as captain of the Montreal Canadiens, the
proved
youngest
it.
in his history.
Dude,
I
first
think
year in his contract as well, eh?
I think he proved it.
He proved it.
Yeah.
I know,
Too
Anthony.
bad he played with mostly shit, but
I know, Anthony. You were worried about like he has this big contract. How is he going to perform?
Well, I predicted last year that it was going to be his best season, right? His career high season, and that went flop. This year he hit it. So
65 points.
I think he proved it as a leader too, right? With all the injuries and him being, you know what? It's crazy to say this, but he was considered besides Anderson, but he was considered a veteran on the first line, right? Like,
yeah, in some ways,
in some ways he was a veteran. All the young players played. So I think he, as a leader with all the injuries, he proved to keep his composure and still play his game and still hit his career high with nobody. I'm telling you, and you put this on our Instagram post.
Yeah, I did.
This week,
we had a lot of comments on that. It was pretty cool.
If Caulfield would have still been there, would Suzuki hit 80 points or vice versa? And I think both players would have potentially hit the 80-point mark if they were played together.
Yeah, I think Caulfield 40 goals, maybe 20, 30 assists, probably.
Yep. I think both Caulfield and Suzuki would have hit. Yeah, Caulfield and Suzuki together would have both hit the 80 mark. We would have finally had two 80-point players on our
since Kovalev. I went with Suzuki to have 70 plus points, and it was very close. I mean, playing half a season with Caulfield, in and out with Doc towards the end. Playing center, injury.
Yeah.
If them three stuck together, I think Caulfield would have hit 40 goals, and I would have said Suzuki 70 plus points. But as a captain, I mean, the guy did as much as he could with very little around him when the players got injured or they were shuffling different, line combinations. So
Suzuki was at 62 points without Caulfield in January, right? January. So that's like 3 more months of hockey. He would have for sure hit 80, not 70.
Well, he was. I don't think not in January, but like,
when did Caulfield
got injured in January, but I don't think Suzuki was at 62 points by that time.
No, he finished.
Oh yeah, right.
Points.
That's right.
Without having Caulfield for 4 months with him.
Yeah,
exactly. 4 months of hockky.
Yeah,
and it's funny.
Been easy.
And it's funny because like some of the comments on that post, Anthony, you're reading. It's like one person wrote, and I half agree and I half disagree, is that if he is that much of a good of a supposed to be our star player, then he should be putting up points despite who he's playing with.
Yes and no.
Yes and no, and it's like okay, and it's like
who he played with, and he still put points.
He still put up points, and like everybody's there. It's like, look how good Raphael Harvey Pinard played, putting up goals. Like probably Pinard finished with 14 goals of the season.
More than
half of those goals are assisted by Suzuki. Half of those goals are because he was on a line with Suzuki.
Yeah, no, I don't agree with that. Wherever that comment came from, I don't agree with that statement because, I mean, look, Suzuki still put up 62 without anybody. So. And players feed off each other. You think Ovechkin scores all those goals alone? I mean, he has people passing the puck to him.
Yeah, but I think guys like Ovechkin, guys like Crosby, guys like McDavid, they're at a level of their own where like they don't need they could have the worst players next to them. They're still gonna put up points.
True.
Yes.
Well, then look, Suzuki had the worst players around him, and he still hit 62 points.
Yeah, I think Suzuki's just a tier.
That's why that comment to me, I don't agree with, because Suzuki still showed what he's capable of doing alone.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
I always said the opposite. I think Caulfield without Suzuki, not Suzuki in particular, but without that type of player, he might not show what he's worth on his own. But Suzuki, I mean, he did the job. Look, he's not Crosby, he's not McDavid. We know this. Crosby too. I mean, as maybe later in his career, he has to have chemistry with certain line mates for it to work.
Yeah.
Like having Gensel with him. Gensel is not a shit player. He'd be a first liner in Montreal. He's not a shit player. He's played with him for a good period. Don't get me wrong. McDavid can do it with whoever, but he's still mostly doing it with guys like Draisaitl. He's not doing it with shit either. So
no, for sure. No, I get that.
They definitely have the potential to do it. They would do a little less, but the fact that Suzuki can get this many points, the amount of injuries. I mean, even Doc not being there from playing center and then being injured, that's a huge loss. As much as Caulfield's been a loss, so has Doc. Because that's the only line that worked for forever.
Yeah. I kind of hope, and a lot's going to depend what happens in the offseason, but I kind of hope that line comes together. But what I like about Suzuki is like he's just a calm person in general. Doesn't get emotional. Doesn't seem to lose focus. But I like that he's still learning. Like, and he said it himself. He's like I'm still in the process of learning. I'm going to learn. I sometimes have to learn how to speak up a bit more. He goes, even though there are some veterans in the lineup that do most of the talking, and you respect that. He's at that point. I was like, I shouldn't be afraid to voice my own take on how to approach the game and all that, and that's cool. And that's going to come with time, maturity, and age, and with the guidance of a guy like Marty St. Louis as a coach. I think a lot of fans were worried. Oh no, he's too young to be a captain in this market and all that. I thought he handled the pressure very well.
I was one of those. I was worried, but you know what?
I think so too.
I think, and this was and this is the testament. Like, we're saying next year will be the year to test Marty with pressure and whatever, with a full healthy team and fight for playoffs. But this was a perfect test for Suzuki with all the shit that's been going on around him, and he still kept his composure and still played his game. Yeah. So as a leader, as a captain, and a young player, I think he really showed us that he could be that. I mean, he is the leader, but he can keep that going. So it's the opposite of what we said before. Marty needs that pressure to test us, needs that test to see if he's a good whatever, but. No, Suzuki really showed that he's capable of being a captain and a leader for this team.
And God forbid I'm knocking on wood, he has one quality that other Canadian players in general don't say it. What? Oh, no, I'm going to say it. It's part of the podcast. No, he has one quality that other players don't seem to have. Do you know what it is?
Not getting injured.
Yeah. Hang on.
Why do you have to say it? Why do you have to glitch it? Because now I'm scared.
Even during COVID, I don't think the guy ever got COVID.
We said the same about Gallagher, and then boom, the year after his fucking life.
Zook, it's high level thinking because maybe next year he might miss a few games, helping us get number one overall. You don't know.
Well, he declined the offer to go play for Canada because he's like he's tired. He's like I'm still dealing with very minor injuries, bumps and bruises. Well, for lack of a better term, but that's a key thing that he's not injury prone.
Swear to God, if he gets injured next season,
Joey, we're coming after you.
And if we get number one overall, you can thank me later.
Who cares? It's this year that we need to get number
one next year.
I don't even.
Oh my God! We're gonna get to that particular topic in a little bit.